Make sure everyone has their buttons on their mics turned on.
Another person here?
Lisa's not here today,
Oh, okay.
Oh, I didn't know.
and there is an opening.
Sorry,
Okay.
I'm sorry, I
I'm gonna
didn't
try to
even
fill
hear
that out.
that.
Good luck. Okay, are we ready?
Yeah.
You ready? Okay, we'll call to order the Town of Rome Community Development Authority meeting for Thursday, November 7th, at 3 o'clock p.m. And we'll start with roll call from my left.
Jamadi here.
Dalton here.
Asmussen here.
Cole here.
Sivaki here.
Thank you. We'll certify the posting of the meeting. Also here is Alexis, and please help me with your last name.
Dargowitz.
Dargowitz. I'll get it right next time. Alexis Dargowitz, our zoning administrator.
Perfect. I will certify that on Thursday, October 31st, 2024, the agenda for the Town of Rome Community Development Authority meeting for Thursday, November 7th, 2024, was posted at the following locations: Rome Town Hall, 1:57 p.m., Quick Trip LLC, 2:02 p.m., Nakusa Port Edward State Bank, 2:06 p.m., posted on the Town of Rome website on 10/31/2024, and emailed to the Wisconsin Rapids Tribune on 10/31/2024.
Okay, thank you. Number 4, approve the agenda. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve agenda?
Second.
For discussion, I would like to look at number 15, and we'll just change it to say, review and discuss goals matrix, and eliminate an update of bylaws.
I amend my motion.
Amend your second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, opposed? No. There are no citizens here, no citizen comment cards, so we'll just move right on to no action contemplated except possible referral to future agenda. Number 6, information updates, meeting recaps, recent correspondence, current events, and announcements. Do we have any today?
I met with Mayor Zacher from Wisconsin Rapids on Friday at his request. We met for over 2 hours almost, but it was a very interesting and good meeting. He shared what he has in the works. I shared what we had in the works. He also discussed the recent community input sessions they had for development in the downtown area as part of the TID that they have. And I asked him how those sessions went, and he shared that they weren't exactly what they had hoped for. The turnout was pretty similar at each one, but they got some good input. Also talked about rail line changing. They're working on that with the state, and getting that rail line from a chemical company in Port Edwards to circle around Rapids so it's not going through private neighborhoods. Talked about a number of other things as well as what they're doing for planning and development and that sort of thing. So it was a very good meeting.
And will those things at some time be shared with, the details of the conversations, or just that you talked to him? Is that,
I was just sharing that
Okay.
I talked to him about development. There's no
okay,
real details. He was just giving me some oversight on his council, what their interests are and where they're headed and how that's all playing out. And then he just mentioned those few projects, and I mentioned what we had
Okay.
going on with the Rome Town Center Subcommittee and changing districts and that sort of thing, the businesses that we currently have, how they're thinking about expanding. He had some questions about Sand Valley and how that TID works, and I explained that, and so that was pretty much
okay,
it.
sounds good. Anybody else, updates? Did you have an anniversary?
Yeah, Sunday is we're celebrating the 1-year anniversary of the brewery.
Yay.
We'll have food truck, Roro's will be out there, as well as American Legion cooking up some food, and then Heartstrings will be playing music for us too.
Okay,
A couple new beers.
congratulations, it's a
Yeah.
success story in their own business center.
Yep, that's exciting.
Okay, move on to number 7 then, the reports. Parks and Recreation Committee, do we have anything from them?
I did not receive anything, but I will like to make a note that Brad Martinson is no longer working with the town. We now have Cody as our interim public works director.
Okay,
So I will make sure to ask him if he has anything fun for us for next time.
all right.
But yeah, for
thank
this
you.
time I figured he didn't have anything because this is, I believe, his first day by himself in this position.
Well, best of luck to him in the new role, combined role, because he's also working water utility.
Yep.
Okay. Anyone else? Parks and Rec? Okay. Plan Commission? Any updates from Plan Commission?
We will be discussing next week the 14-mile creek or 14-mile creek trail with Visit Rome. That is going to be the only thing on the agenda pretty much at this point. So we'll just be mostly I guess the discussion's going to primarily be based upon the 3 parcels that the trail is going to be going on. It's not going to actually be surrounding what the trail is, I guess, how the trail is functioning or what it's actually doing, because the trail is remaining within the right-of-way, and the tunnel is on the state highway. We don't really have jurisdiction of the state highway. Obviously, the state commissioner does, so we can't really control what they approve or don't approve. So all we're going to do is talk about those 3 parcels that are within the Gateway Overlay District and make sure that they're following the standards that are listed in the Commercial A subdistrict.
Okay. That's the Link the Lakes project?
Yep.
And the trail. Okay. Anything else from Plan Commission? Lori, no?
No,
Okay.
thank you.
Rome Town Center update?
That'll probably come, do you have the subcommittee on a separate one,
Yep,
but other
We
than
can
that.
just talk about it then? Okay. Sand Valley, Sand Valley's in their kind of start of the shoulder season, winter season, so Thanksgiving, they're having a Thanksgiving meal at at Sand Valley. You can eat there in person or get it to pick up to go. And they're having lots of holiday parties there, and then pretty soon they'll start the winter pursuits, and that's all on their website. WEDC Connect Communities.
Is everybody getting those emails on a pretty regular basis then from Erin? Are you getting them yet? That would mean no. All right, let me double check your email and see
Okay.
that she's got yours properly
Yeah.
set up, because I did give her your name several months ago.
Okay, yeah, I haven't
So,
been
because
getting
they
anything.
send them out on a pretty regular basis. You
Okay.
get flooded with information. It's pretty helpful. and
Oh, okay, yeah, no, but definitely
Okay.
haven't gotten those.
good. Is everybody else getting their
I get the
information?
emails, but I can't open any of the attachments, and
Yeah, I
I
can't
was,
either.
no, and I was communicating with her. She gave me tips and hints what was wrong, and that didn't work either, so I kind of, right now, I'm not looking. I see the topics, but I can't look at the details.
Well, otherwise, I did provide something from WEDC for you all today. This is from their Main Street 4-point approach design webinar they had yesterday. Unfortunately, I was sick yesterday, so I didn't get to actually attend the webinar, so that's kind of sad. But they do have a recording, so I can forward that recording to all of you if you want to watch that. But I thought this would just be an interesting little topic since it's about town centers and just different design elements. It has quite a few just different things about like beautification, and since we are pretty focused on beautification in the last few meetings, I thought it was just a unique little read.
Okay.
It's pretty short, pretty sweet, to the
Sure.
point.
Thank you. Okay, then we will move on. Number 8, the Rome Town Center Subcommittee Review. Where's that at? Moving along, right?
Okay. Make me run back and forth through my packet.
Okay, you're
Okay.
good.
So I wrote a little blurb in here. The RTC subcommittee has met on September 20th, October 9th, October 18th, and October 30th, and we have our next meeting scheduled for November 13th. We have gone over a wide variety of topics throughout these meetings. We have discussed housing, what makes Rome special, what the previous subcommittees have done, the 15 recommendations from land use specialist Sam Schultz, and how to apply them. We have discussed bringing in a master planner to help us bring our committee work to life. And we have been working towards a vision board to present to a planner, as well as documents to present to the town board for when we officially request to bring in the planner. During our most recent meeting, we discussed non-use controls within the Rome Town Center, and we looked in depth at the current zoning regulations in the Rome Town Center and how few difference exists between the districts, as well as how many uses are listed that might not necessarily be needed. In fact, we had an airport listed as a use there, which is kind of crazy. The next meeting is set to be a working meeting where we will finish up work on our vision board and finalize any documents to be presented at town board.
Okay. How is a planner different than what Sam Schultz did?
So our planner would help us make a document like what the previous 2019 document was versus Sam Schultz is more like an advisor to our subcommittee who's going to like kind of help shape our direction and let us know if we're going the right path or if we're kind of going down a rabbit hole.
Okay.
So Sam is more land use and how we would subdivide the properties, and how we could unify and simplify and make them more flexible, the code for governing as well as development. So that would make it easier for people that are interested in putting in retail office space or putting in a housing project, whatever, that might be a bad term perceived by some, but a housing project, they could we'll work through Sam for that sort of thing, where a master planner, an offer has come up that we are working through and getting our details all together, so presentation can be made to the board, and it would be at no cost to the town. And a master planner gives us an overview of what that, about 100 and some acres, 160, 200 tops in that northwest corner, and how that housing and retail, there might be a corridor to get into that, and then how that would shortly blend into the rest of the Rome Town Center around the gazebo area, so that we can perhaps amend some of the deficiencies we are currently faced with and make it all blend. So it's going to make it more walkable, more user-friendly. Maybe there'll be car-free areas that you get to the housing and you can walk to an eatery, or there might be a bookstore. So it's all those concepts gone into planning that area of the Rome Town Center where housing has been the key focus, and then blending it out into the rest of it around Van Shell and the gazebo area. So we're looking at modifying the districts down from possibly, 5 down to 1, 2 at the most. We're looking at all of the non-use controls, which is the easiest one to do first, and see that there's minimal differences from all of the things that were required of businesses and things to go in there, and simplify it so that there might be, like Sam made in his presentation, that comment, and he would help us with those types of things, that you'd go from maybe 345 uses down to 45. Because why have that entire list? And Lexi's working on the list. We shortened it already for the subcommittee, but Lexi's going through now and looking and see, well, just airport, those type, just take it out of there. You wouldn't even have that in commercial light industrial, which will likely eliminate anyway. So it's just blending. The master planner gets a list of all the needs and wants, will help us make a presentation to the public, have forums with business owners, get input from them, and put a plan forward. And it's just an opportunity to take advantage of something that's been given to us as an offer, and we're going to present the whole thing as a packet to the town board.
Okay.
I would
When
like-
is your next meeting?
It would be on the 13th. But I would like to make one clarification, though.
November?
If we do get rid of commercial light industrial, that does not mean we would get rid of Parmar. They are staying still, as
Correct.
they would be grandfathered in as a use.
Correct.
Okay. Anything else to add? We can move on.
One thing I could back up here too, as far as, I forgot to share with the mayor, came up with the Sam Valley conversation is about the airport, and you said airport, so it jogged a memory here, but there's some expansion, thoughts going on for the airport, and he has been appointed the commissioner of some subcommittee where he's bringing in different people that use the airport and the communities that currently support it monetarily, to have a discussion on what the future needs of the airport are and who should all be involved in that decision-making process. He has invited somebody from Sam Valley. I don't have the name. I didn't ask the name. I don't think that's my need. I don't need to know, but he's involving all the key stakeholders that use that airport, and their fuel sales this summer are the highest they've ever been. So the use of the airport is really something. And one thing he did bring up too is about the pilots that do come in and stay overnight. They're always looking for a place to stay and something to do as well. So that was just another part of that conversation. But no, we wouldn't have an airport in the Rome Town Center.
And you're talking about Adams Friendship Airport, or is
No,
it?
this is Wisconsin Rapids.
Oh, the
where all
Wisconsin
planes
Rapids Airport,
From
okay.
Mayor, yeah, from
I
Mayor
was on
Zucker.
the committee when they did all the development and construction on that with all the weekly reports. So, okay. Anything else? No questions? Okay, number 9, discussion only, zoning administrator updates about business licenses.
Yes, it came to my attention very recently how many businesses were running without licenses or not knowing that they needed licenses. So over the month of October, I found and I corrected 7 businesses and had all 7 of them come back to me and get licenses.
Okay.
So I thought I'd like to share that with the committee, and I'd also like to get it now out there to the public, to whoever's listening, watching videos. I know quite a few people do. To please get your business license. If you don't know that you have to get one, you do have to get one.
Okay. And if they have questions about whether they need one, not need one,
Reach out to me.
reach out to you, because I don't know what the criteria are if you're just running something out, I don't know, something small. Okay. Number 10, discussion only. Updates about beautification. Trees planted in the Rome Municipal Building. So I can talk about this, and Colleen was part of this. You hopefully saw the 4 small pine trees that are out front. Those were planted and will be used for part of the Christmas display that Rome Snow Bandits will be putting together. And Colleen was part of that. She sourced the trees, compared prices, actually went there with her truck and picked them up and brought them here. This is really a collaboration, because she did that. Brad Martinson came out and helped to locate the trees and make sure utility wasn't a problem. The fire chief watered the trees, and then actually the person who planted the trees, and it'll be coming up later, is, that's a separate topic, right? Yeah, is Rick Foss. And so we'll be signing a letter thanking him as we get down the line. So the trees are in place, and they'll look nice. It's nicer when they grow bigger, but it was a nice collaboration of people to get something done. So thank you for your help on that. Any questions about the little trees?
Brad was the one that came up with the layout, determined where they should be placed
Rick
in a
Foss.
straight line?
No,
Oh,
Rick Foss did that.
Okay. No, I thought he planted them.
He did plant them, but he also was there for locating them.
Okay. It was a nice offer. He's also offered to do some native plantings around this building next year, as well as in the Rome Town Center. So that'll be nice too, when we want to update some streetscapes and things like that, and maybe improve the front of this building. He was kind enough to offer that as well, so in the future.
And I think also to put baskets in the Rome Town Center in the summer.
Yeah, ask,
So,
that would be nice, very nice. Dress
so
up those
they're a good neighbor, a new business in town, and they want to work with the town and help with beautification. So thank them for that if you stop in there, and we will sign a letter as that comes up. All right, anything else about beautification? No? All right, discuss and possible action on the following items. Number 11, approval of the September 5th, 2024 meeting minutes. That's the last time we met, because we skipped October's meeting. Look at that, we just need a motion on that.
I'll motion to approve those minutes.
Second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on. Number 12, discussion and possible action. Here we go with the letter. Review and signing letter of appreciation for Rich Foss for his volunteer services. So I'll just send that down here, and then we can sign that letter. Lexi wrote the letter. I thought she did a really great job. I didn't even change a word, which is kind of unusual since I'm
Critical?
it's just my history. Yeah. So anyway, all right, so we'll all sign that and get that off to Rich Foss. Number 13, discussion possible action, review and plans for town display from the Christmas in Rome Citizen Committee. So you have in your packet, it's just an email copy from Melissa Rhodes, and Melissa is working with the Snow Bandits and the Christmas in Rome Committee. And I think we had asked, and town board had asked, that they actually kind of let us know what they're going to do to avoid any problems with that display. So they explained it in their letter. It's going to be kind of a white lights on the new trees and the existing pine trees, create a winter wonderland sort of feeling. They are going to use a couple of the cutouts that they had from before, the snowmen, and sort of put them toward the back of the display. So
The snowmen, the wooden ones?
they didn't have it drawn up, but Lori Pritzel is also very involved in this, and I think Lori does a beautiful job with decorating, and she did a nice job with her Halloween thing, so sounds like it's going to be nice on the corner, so. I don't believe we have to do anything about it here, unless we can talk about this. We could have a motion to just prove that they go forward, or that we refer it to the town board that they go forward with their plans for the Winter Wonderland theme on the corner.
It says here, I can get you a layout closer to the date of the installation, which will be around Thanksgiving. So if they could do that, maybe they can put that based on this recommendation from this committee, right, to town board for approval.
Yeah, that would be great. And we did also ask them, and I think we should include at the town board level, that they not put up that large banner on the corner that says Rome Snow Bandits, that they just use a smaller sign of some sort, maybe like a yard sign that says decorations courtesy or provided by Rome Snow Bandits or Christmas in Rome Committee, whatever they want it to say. It doesn't, rather than that banner that seemed to flap around in the wind.
Yeah.
And block the view.
And block the view. So, well, I'll make the motion that we just refer the matter to the town board for recommendation of the Snow Bandits Christmas in Rome Winter Wonderland theme, with the notation that they're to supply a diagram and not use that large banner. That was a lot for a motion. Did you get all that?
Yeah.
You can simplify that. We have a second.
Yeah, I'll second the motion.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. That's another one. That's a nice collaboration between people and committees to try to do something this year that's going to make everybody happy instead of causing kind of a commotion. We'll call it a commotion. So, number 14, discussion and possible action. Discuss ways CDA can support local businesses. So I asked to put this in here, and I don't think my point was exactly so much supporting local businesses. I do want local businesses to know that we appreciate them and congratulate them when they have milestones, and to try to avoid making it difficult to do business in the Rome Town Center. And then also, I think what I was hoping to get from this, and maybe it'll be another time, is ways that we can identify what businesses we need in the Rome Town Center, unless that's something that the subcommittee is looking at.
At this time, we're not looking at businesses.
Okay.
I mean, we're not looking at businesses. Could you ask the question again, please?
What businesses we think the community wants and needs in the Rome Town Center. We know housing, we've identified that, with the goal being that if we know they want X business, that we think about that and try to look at leads or talk to people who might be interested in bringing that business here, instead of the current model, which is just kind of sit back and wait for someone to come to us.
The committee's not at that point yet, no, but they
Yes.
would be eventually.
Yes,
It's
but-
part of the master plan. It's in the planning document we have with our project. Maybe we can get you that document then.
Yeah.
Because there's steps that we're taking. We had it at our last meeting. We had an overview of it. And community input and business forums are part of that.
Okay.
The master planner is very similar. You would recognize this, Jackie, from Sam Valley with the PUD when they came with an update. They've got pictures of houses in there, zones in there, the type of architecture they want in there, and then they would get what would be different with the master planner, like they did up in the city has a master planner. They hold those community forums. They have
Okay.
forums with businesses and smaller, like at the brewery or at Hoozles or Cal's, and get together and talk in small groups. It's helpful if more people are drawn out to help do that, but that is part of the process that the Rome Town Center Subcommittee is engaged in doing.
Okay, so that's all I'm getting at, just to make sure we're kind of looking down that path.
Absolutely, but I would be interested, because I've heard this from you several times and others, and I'm not trying to be confrontational, but I
Yeah.
want to understand what's made difficult for businesses to come in. What are we, besides the pricing and not being something, but, we've looked at non-use controls. We're going to start looking at the permitted and conditional uses, and we found that there's so very little in the differences in the non-use controls that if the ask was made and the ask was appropriate, they likely would have got what they wanted, because there's not that many differences, and the process is not that difficult. I mean, coming to CDA and asking, I guess I need a better understanding so we can share that with the group too, and maybe that's something that's part of the community engagement session. Like, what is it that are we being totally unfriendly to these businesses? Because I've heard that comment too, that we're being unfriendly to a business owner and didn't treat them appropriately, but yet, I guess help me understand this. What do you mean that we make it difficult?
I mean, part of it does kind of also boil down to some documents. I mean, we have this as part of the reason.
Well, and those were already in use, Lexi. So that's a policy, and that's a systematic operation thing that if we can help you simplify that, great. If that's what you mean, I get it, because
That's part of it, and I think.
that would be great. The consultation,
yeah.
people coming in, talking with you, talking with our planners. I mean, because if we have the resources and the pool of the right people to help individuals, it shouldn't be that difficult. The conversations we've had in public haven't always been pleasant, as we've recently discovered, but you're right. Some of those documents were developed and they could be updated. That would simplify it. Like her document she created here, which she wants to share with us later, I think that's very helpful. Yeah. But that is going to be part of the overall conversation. And finding those non-use controls, which was that chart alone, that's going to help us when we move forward on some of this, hopefully, is that there aren't that many differences between the different districts, which then tells us maybe we only need one district. And if you're going to be housing, okay, we want housing over there. We'll put that RFP out. If we want multi-use mixed family, okay, we want that over there on this side of the corridor. We'll put that out. Maybe you can help add, because you've been a really beneficial help on there with us as well, and maybe you can help explain some of that even further.
Yeah, I mean, I think just trying to simplify it and get that documentation out in our steps, and we're working, just in a very structured way of what do we need to do, number one, and get from there. And so we definitely will be looking at the kinds of businesses and then how to simplify getting them in, and working on, you had brought that document or printed out that document from years ago of the different things from the community that they wrote on, this is what we want. So we're going to be
Right.
taking a look at that, and just kind of looking at how to simplify things in the center.
And what we have realized is
Yeah.
that document that was done years ago, when the community did come out, which was a really good event. It was one of the first ones we had with Jeff Sanders. We had a really good turnout for that. A lot of those things still apply, and we're still talking about them. But now we're getting everything in place that we need. We're taking baby steps, but doing it in order, because we want the buy-in. We want the community's buy-in. We want the board's buy-in, because it's time we stop talking about this place. It's been an albatross for years. A lot of it right now has been organic, which is good, because that's what's motivating us to move forward with the rest of it. The organic piece of it right now. Otherwise, it's sat vacant for years. And the only building we did have was Permar, We had the bank building, and then we had the real estate finance building, and then Papa Bears came in. So very organic at this point. The bakery, which was the old Stagecoach. But now we could take those organics and build something on that and not just let these documents lay there, because like Sam told us when he presented, a lot of it still applies and it's a good document. That's why we have those 15 recommendations. Another document we're working with, I created a chart for us with Lexi, and we have the 15 recommendations. We categorize them as priorities, ongoing with a planner, and then afterwards. And a lot of those are looking at the code, looking at the zoning district, looking at what the shortfall is on infrastructure, and then figuring out if we do have an RFP go out for housing eventually, those costs that we as a town have to take on and what we can pass on to them. But there's other tools we have to get in our toolbox to help us do that. And there's that scary word TID. And I did go to a really good presentation by Andy Kurtz from Veerbecker. You're very familiar with them at Sand Valley. We've used them here for years. We work very closely with them. But he talked about TIDs and how those are used and how they're misunderstood. But if you're done right, like Sand Valley's was done right, they pay for themselves and then some. So there's things that we can also explore now with the laws changing, that there's a TID overlay where it might cover all of the RTC or the one, there's just a lot you can do with them, and people don't need to be afraid of them. And it's the messaging is a big part of what we're talking about as well, because if we're going to get this thing done, we got to get the message out there, and some people will buy it, some people won't, some people will be interested, others will hate it, but that can't prevent us from moving on. We have to move on, otherwise it's going to sit there and continue to grow organically. I mean, we could take proactive steps and say, hey, we're looking for this and this and this, but that's again where the master planner comes in. They plan these things just like they're doing up in Rapids and say, this is what we are interested in having right here. How do we get to that point? Help us get there. So then a developer from Madison would come in and say, yeah, I could do that rental office space with you with housing above. Yeah, I could do the 10 units over there for 55 plus. And we put those RFPs out and go from there. And those developers would come in and work with us. That's where you start talking about the cost sharing of improvements as well. So that's some of what we've been talking about. So the step is there to get input from the businesses and have community forums and engagement process. And the master planner would definitely help us with that.
So we just need to be patient and
That's part of it.
let the subcommittee finish their work and present it. I think the other piece of that was part of this topic is, and I think Lexi is getting this corrected, inconsistent enforcement of ordinances in the Rome Town Center.
Yes.
So, it's not fair to ask one business to comply with everything and another is just not, that just has to be corrected, and I think you're trying to work on that one business at a time, and we've even discovered a business that was required to have a whole landscaping plan back, 2017?
Something like that, yep.
It never was followed through, and they don't have it. So it's difficult to go back to somebody from 2017 and tell them, yes, here we are today, you've got to do this, but it was a requirement, so just things like
And that's true throughout
that.
the gateway. That's true throughout the gateway as well, and I know people don't like to hear that word. It's like a dirty word, but it shouldn't be, because this is your first impression when you come into Rome. Most people come through this four-way stop, north, south, east, or west. And we talked about that when we had the original beautification discussion. So we want to look how we want to present ourselves and be welcoming here. Just not even physically and structurally, but as a community, be welcoming. So it's coming, and it's a process. And we're actually pretty close. We're pretty close to recommending something at the December 7th meeting. And then while that happens, and we give our list of interests to a master planner, then for that overall document, we could still simultaneously be doing these other things, looking at the district, changing the code, making sure it all matches, simplify it, and the ease of the process will all come with that.
So and I want to thank you for Lexi for getting on some of those things. There is something that you can do without all of this other
Exactly.
mechanism in place.
Well, then moving away from non-existent businesses and I guess, thinking more so of existing businesses, and I guess I'm thinking more so of existing businesses with, I guess, holidays rolling around and our website. Do we want to kind of think about doing something with our CDA page and the holidays?
So the CDA webpage, I thought we had that on here. Oh, that's gonna come up in the goals matrix.
Yep.
So we'll talk about that in that topic.
This might sound a little repetitive too, but going back to this other discussion, when I said early on, it's like what's happening over in this area, because that's primarily where the housing would be, but how do we want that to be, and what else would be, would there be retail, would there be a corridor, would there be streetscapes? That's all being considered. Like I said earlier, that would eventually blend into the rest of the park that might help us with something like 2017. You know, so that'll make it easy for them, because there's ways of creating money too, with the help of WEDC and with the current TIDs we have, and other things, of having a pool of money as an incentive to say, here, you could beautify your property, maybe a contest, $5,000. Change your store. I don't know, but there's ideas out there that eventually we get the rest of that to blend in around the band shell and the gazebo and those current businesses that we have established. So if you have any ideas, and by all means, come on Wednesday. What's the time again on Wednesday, Lex?
I believe it's 1.
1? Yeah, come on Wednesday at 1 o'clock and see, but there'll be a full-on presentation for the board on December 7th.
Okay. We can go to number 15, discussion and possible action, review and discuss goals matrix. We put this in on every meeting.
The 5th. I'm sorry, everyone, December 5th, not the 7th.
And thank you. So looking at this, the reason, the one thing that I don't think has, Heather, maybe you can help me with this, the web presence. So you were going to work on that, but I'm wondering, not to interrupt, you're about to talk, but would you be interested, now that Lisa is on the committee, of having Lisa pair with you and work on that? Because she has direct access to all those photos you might be looking at, and she's also quite talented in that area. I'm not saying you're not, but
Right,
it's
yeah,
kind of her thing, so.
I was just looking at, trying to get that one brochure page like updated and
Right,
stuff like
right.
that. But as far as, all that stuff, because I know a lot of that information I was trying to gather from Visit Rome.
Sure.
Absolutely, I would love Lisa's.
Okay. And she's not here today, but I talked to her ahead of time. She actually offered to help with it because she had noticed the webpage was outdated.
Yep.
And so, and then Taylor is your contact here in the town. She's the one that has actual access to get onto that, to make the changes. So if you just want to reach out to Lisa and set something up, maybe we can, it probably could go fast because she has access to the information, so does Taylor.
Okay.
I would recommend that we take completed off of success, because it's going to be ongoing, maybe say and then in the next one, time frame review quarterly. Well, we are, but maybe do we want to set that we have some sort of result by the end of quarter 1?
We already had a deadline on it.
It says review quarterly. Mine says review quarterly. So if we
For
say that,
under, you're looking at goal number 2, it
I'm
says
looking at
time.
goal number 1.
Oh, okay. That
You're talking
one,
about the part with
oh yeah, up here in the brochure.
the one that Heather's working on in the brochure.
Yeah,
So
I
we
think
start-
at one time, because it was completed, but now it's being updated. Yeah, we can put a deadline on it. What do you feel comfortable with?
I think by the end of quarter 1.
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll just put the time frame.
By end of quarter 1,
End of quarter 1.
2025.
Yeah.
And then I would suggest, since we have all of these, Kathy Cuss is great. She might have some of the maps you might still need in that. But with the resources we have here now, with Lexi knowing maps so well, Lisa's talents in that, we could go to her as a resource, but I don't know if we
So
necessarily.
Taylor tried, and she was getting nothing back from her, so I don't know what that is.
From
So-
who?
Kathy Cuss.
Yeah.
I know Adams County uses her sometimes, but I don't know. I don't know that we need to name that specific resource at this time, because I think we have enough internal
Right.
knowledge and experience that we can maybe take that name off of there, especially if we're not getting what we need to perk up what she
Yeah.
originally gave us.
We can do that. And Economic Development Corporation, that's probably to get some facts and figures that are in there. So that's still Visit Rome as town administrator. Well, he kind of oversees everything, and other CDA members. So the rest of them, I think, are okay.
We can get a lot of economics too. There's some sites that you can ask WEDC. I would actually put WEDC on here as well. Because through our Connect communities, they have a lot of those economic and demographics that would be important to business development, that they could really help us with that.
And I think right now, initially, we're not looking at reinventing the wheel, just right now, get it updated, so at least it's current, and if we do want to look at it, once you both get involved and, like, you just want to rebuild something, then that could be a next step, but right now, just so that's not so stale.
Oh, right, yeah. But WEDC would be a good one I think we could add.
Okay. So that's primarily the goals matrix item that I wanted to look at, and I'm seeing what else.
Number two, then, do you want to change the
Number two.
time frame on that?
By the end of Q4 2024. Yeah, we'll just make that to Q1 2025. And number three, so this is outreach for beautification projects, and I don't think we've really done much of that. Well, Lexi, it wouldn't be beautification, I guess it is, some of them that she's gone, because they're non-compliant, it is in effect beautification to get rid of garbage.
Enforcement.
Yeah, it's more of an enforcement tool of beautification, if there is such a thing, but it does kind of apply.
Remediation is a good word for that.
Remediation.
Remediation and blight.
So that basically is, I would say, what's been done so far, and the updating the corner project with the little trees, future big trees, current little trees. So we can probably, I think we could just leave that open as a time frame. There's not, it's an ongoing process.
You could just put ongoing.
Yeah, let's just
what we've
change
done
it to
on ours.
ongoing.
And I think we could add remediation and blight, because there are some sites that, like the corner's getting cleaned up, that's great. They took down an old building, found a treasure, an old car. But, there's other blight, I think, in our Gateway District, and that could be dealt with. So remediation and blight, I think, would be a good action step in there.
We can add
And
that.
that falls under if you want to add code enforcement, but I think remediation and blight covers it nicely.
So are you gonna add code enforcement and remediation and blight as action steps?
You guys want both code enforcement and remediation and blight, or do you just want remediation and blight?
Well, do we want to put code enforcement? That might, but if we say, I was trying to go for a nicer verbiage.
Yeah, let's just do the remediation, because that's up to you, technically, code enforcement. Connect communities, we already talked about that.
And I'll get Tiffany checked out and see. One thing I wanted, now that we're on that though, for you, Jackie, and anybody else that might ever have a problem with it, you use your sign in, you click on it when you want to go on those documents, and they'll tell you, we'll send you a code. And I've gotten codes.
Okay, I'll try it again.
Click on it and you might get, they send you like a 4 or 6 digit number, and then you can access the PDF.
Okay. Continue support of established business and business visits. We haven't really done business visits. Do we want to do business visits, or do we want to eliminate that? Why don't we just take off in business visits, if that's agreeable? Coordinate visits with new and expanding businesses, so number 1.
You could say encourage new and expanding businesses. If you don't want to say coordinate, because we were coordinating those visits, but we would be encouraging new and expanding businesses.
Sure, that's fine. Semi-annual business survey. So I don't have any business survey. Do we have a business survey, number 2?
We did. We did. It was, a bill was still on the CDA, and I believe that we still have those, we must have those documents somewhere in the CDA files. They did a business survey. So
Okay.
that has to be at least, at a minimum, 3 years old now.
And do we want to do a business survey?
I think certainly once we get it a little bit further along in the subcommittee process. But it might be more of a forum or a, questionnaire or on, that sort of thing. Bring them in, meet them out in the community kind of thing, and survey them at those places.
So the time frame would just, right now, we don't have the forum, we don't have the time frame. We're waiting for Rome Town Center, so we can just cross the time frame off and just have it be there as a holding place.
You could leave ongoing,
It can be ongoing,
and then just take the rest of them
or
off.
the whole thing ongoing, the whole topic, the
Yeah.
whole.
I do like the last one though, and this time of year, I always think of these types of things, and I honestly used to do this when I was a manager of a travel agency with 7 people. Our staff would break up and go out and see all the different commercial clients we had, give them a thank you gift, a little box of chocolates to share, and say thank you for doing business with us. I mean, I would really like to see us do a little bit more outreach in this area if we're gonna do anything with visiting businesses. Thanksgiving, just around Thanksgiving time, always makes me think of times to thank people for what they give us and thank them for what we get and, what we give. And this is when I think outreach might be a good time around the holiday season. But that's just my thoughts on it. But I think that's a nice annual social networking and thank you event for area businesses is a good one to keep in there. And maybe we could move it up the food chain a little.
My only thought to that is doing something maybe spring right before the busy time. I feel like everybody gets inundated with the thank yous and the gifts because we're,
That's
it's
true.
Thanksgiving. We're thinking about being thankful. So if we maybe did it maybe in the spring of like, hey, we're about to gear up for summer. Thank you for being here.
That's a great idea.
Just kind of encourage that positive foot into the summer and the busy season. I think that would be really nice
That's
to
a
do.
great idea. And then what do you need from us to kick off your season?
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea, Tiffany.
Yep.
I like that. Because you're right, Thanksgiving does get kind of busy now and people are starting to leave. They come back in the spring.
Yeah.
Everything's new and fresh.
Yeah, we have a lot of businesses that are, closed or their hours are really limited in the
Limited.
winter. And so it's, might be
Good
nice to
point.
get them more towards when they're open or here.
I like that.
So are we looking at an email, every business in town? Or are we identifying businesses in the Rome Town Center? Or, what's the
I think it
list?
could be,
How many businesses we have? Every licensed business or?
Yeah, because there's a lot of licensed businesses.
Yeah.
Like, what's our cutoff? Do you want, because are we counting, like, do you want our carpentry businesses? Do you want, like, our bakeries? Do you want brick and mortar shops?
well, maybe what we can do, we don't have to decide it today, but that's a
Right.
very valid point. What we could do is have tiers. It depends on the type of business it is. Do we see them on a regular basis? Is it a small one out of their home? Maybe a thank you letter and a $5 gift, I don't know. Just throwing it out there. But then the next level would be, are you brick and mortar? I don't know. We don't have to decide it today, that we're just tossing these ideas out there.
Yeah.
But we could certainly bring them back for another discussion.
That was my initial thought to that was, do a postcard or even just an email letter to the many generic businesses that are home run, smaller. And then if there's a brick and mortar public serving, like restaurant, bar, gift shop, the bait shop, any of those that are serving our Rome members, on a daily basis, then maybe they get a box of chocolates and a coffee or something, like,
Exactly.
hey,
That's a
running a
good
business
idea.
is hard. Here you go. Here's some caffeine and chocolate.
Well, and we have those little Rome pins, and I give them out as gifts sometimes. And so when I meet with people, so we can even you return, if we have maybe 20 of them that they're in-home businesses, just throwing that number out there and bring your card back and we'll give you this. It's a little pin that
Oh, yeah.
says Rome on it, or we enter your name in a contest for a Rome's, I don't know. Those are just ideas we can throw out to let them know we're acknowledging them. We thank them for being here and being part of the community.
Yeah.
We'll support you if you let us know you're there.
Yeah.
That way we can acknowledge that we know they're there, but we might not know everybody or everything about them.
Yep.
So we're looking at spring for that of,
Number 4,
5, it's number, yeah, number 4. Tiffany, are you interested in being on any sort of little work group with that?
Sure.
To-
Absolutely, yeah.
excellent.
So as of right now, we would be looking at 103 businesses, and that's as of right now. That number is likely to grow.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Emails,
Nice number of
you know,
businesses.
emails are free, basically. And then when you get into the, like you say, the next kind of category, you'd have to discuss what that,
And that
what
would
that
depend-
is and how it's gonna be paid for, basically.
Yeah, and that would also depend on what you count as businesses. I know some people also might consider like a short-term rental business or whatever. This is just like business licenses.
Yeah.
Not
Right.
counting anything else.
So let's also maybe move it as a future agenda item
Okay.
to dive into it a little bit more. Okay, we're done talking about number 5. Number 6, well, I think we're not, that's on hold pending subcommittee, nothing's changed there. And what do we have? Number 7. That's on hold too with the subcommittee, I think. Correct?
Yep.
All right. I didn't think there'd be that much to talk about on there,
Say
but
pending subcommittee, okay, too, on that one. Actually, you could add that if you're gonna update this, like in number 6, under time frame. Could we just add on hold pending subcommittee?
all right.
Our marching orders.
That was number 15. Where are we? Number 16. Well, we've already touched on this, but it's on the agenda. Discussion and possible referral to future agenda. Work on ways of gathering feedback on what businesses, citizens would like in Rome. So, if it's approved to have a planner, that's something you'd get into, but I guess also you can consider ways that you think would be worthwhile to gather this type of feedback, because we've all heard the grocery store, I think, is a thing, car wash, but that's not probably going to happen, but, you know.
But
Is
if you
it
don't mind
worth-
waiting for one lane?
Do we need to put it on a future agenda, or should we just know that that's something we've already talked about, and we're gonna have that coming back to us from the subcommittee?
If you yourselves want to create a list or have ideas or have heard things and want to submit that list to us, that would be helpful. But I think, what were you going to add to that?
I was just wondering if, years ago when you had the community involved in writing down their ideas on a, I don't know if it was big poster board, whatever it was. I think that might really get the community involved. And we've talked about doing like the forums to give information out and discuss things, at the different businesses, once a month or whatever. But I almost wonder if it would be a really good idea to maybe, late spring, early summer for 2 weeks, maybe during Memorial Day or something when we have all our people here, and have something, it gets people into the building here, have a big poster board up where people can come and write something. Because if you put out an email or a thing on Facebook, people are going to comment, and they're going to comment all the nasties. And I think
Right. Too much
to get
discussion.
people in and, hey, here's our center, here's what we have to offer, even just in this building, and you're getting people in to write, this is what I'd love to see in Rome. And then we can take a look at that again and also compare that compared to the other one. What are some newer desires out of people compared to a couple of years ago, or are there a lot of the same things?
It's a good idea. And there's still those little pins that we have several hundred of them, but I mean, we could order more of them. They're not, come in, fill out sign your name on one of these, put your idea down, and you'll get a pin that
Yeah.
says Rome on it.
I also feel like this does differ from the subcommittee's work if we're just talking about business, just general business ideas, not specifically businesses within the Rome Town Center.
Yeah.
Because if we're just talking about businesses that people want to see within Rome, that could just be something in general.
Right.
Versus if it's
And that information can be twofold, because it can help feed into, here's what we would like overall. And maybe that's some of what we try to go after to come into the town center. But overall, we want to see it in Rome in general. So is it maybe over here in these buildings, or is it somebody building their own? And I don't know a lot. So I think that's kind of a dual use with that information for sure.
Yeah, 'cause
Great.
I feel like this is something that I guess I feel I could take more so, and I could put it maybe on the general zoning. I don't know what I could do with it, but I could take it, make it a web map type thing, and put it somewhere on the zoning page and be like, here are what the Rome citizens think of businesses they like, and then that could just be its own separate thing. Maybe people will see these ideas, bring it to the Rome Town Center. Maybe they'll see these ideas and bring it to a different part of Rome. Don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows? But
I think that's an awesome idea to put it out there, and this is what the citizens have spoken, and this is what people are looking for, and that gives direction to businesses coming, or somebody that would like to bring a business in, for sure. Yeah.
We can put it on a future agenda item, and continue the conversation about it and come back. Well, and I'm sure, Heather, you talked to all kinds of people at the brewery, and if you actually ask the question, they might
Yeah.
have some,
Absolutely.
have some
Hearing
feedback.
brick oven pizza, and I keep hearing
Ooh,
wine
yeah.
bar and cigars.
And grocery store.
But that's certainly something, yeah, and that list also helps the subcommittee as well as, I really like your idea in the spring, and getting the community involved that way, but I anticipate the subcommittee having those forums, and assistant with that community engagement piece like they did up in the Rapids.
Yeah.
Lexi was gonna call, or supposed to call Kyle and just find out more details from him, because he's their planning person up in Wisconsin Rapids, and he could maybe give her some more feedback and follow up on how to do that as well. So that'll give us some insight.
Yeah.
yeah, I have some ideas of how we can even get businesses engaged. I think it'd be kind of fun to even do a competition with some businesses where we give them each like a little Dropbox, and we can have like people come in that go to their businesses and put in ideas, and whatever businesses collect the most ideas, whatever could win some sort of maybe like a traveling trophy or just something goofy like that. Doesn't have to be something super
Yeah.
super crazy, but just a fun little competition.
Lots of ideas, just have to zone in on what's effective, because I know they've been doing that in Wisconsin Rapids, and Kyle has had that, plan for a long time, but yet I haven't really seen anything come of it. What is that? He's had that, and I've had that comment made to me by real estate agents in Wisconsin Rapids that, yeah, there's this whole big master plan, but then they won't approve anything. Nothing's really come in as a result of this plan.
Kind of like where we're at.
So
they're
it's-
getting re-engaged in it. That's what they're
Yeah.
really trying to do, and I think Mayor Zacher is trying to help him do that. The council, they've spent $70,000 to re-engage this thing and get the community involved. So, if you look at Mead Witter, it cost the city $15 million to build that, and that's not even in a TID. But, they're looking at getting that, they've got plans for the downtown. Part of that is relocating the rail. So there are pieces of it moving forward, and I think they're at the same place we are. They're re-engaging the whole plan. So rather than letting it lay up on a shelf, they're getting people that are actively involved now and moving it forward.
So I guess my only point in saying that is you don't want people to come in, give their ideas, get excited, oh, they're gonna maybe do this and do that, and then nothing happens.
That's why you let
'Cause
somebody
then-
maybe a little bit more experienced than us
Right.
be the one to engage them, which is why
Exactly.
they're using a master planner as well, because they take those ideas and they see what fits and what would work for everybody, understanding the demographics of your specific community. You
Well, and
know,
I
'cause
think
you could
that's where
say-
those
I've had
forums
somebody
help
say they
too.
want- I'm sorry, hon, what did you say?
I think that's where those forums help too, where
Yes.
you're meeting at businesses and talking to people instead of, come to our CDA meeting. A lot of people aren't going to come and sit in here and listen to all that. But when you're doing a community forum at, the tap house or, at different businesses, and you're engaging people, and here are the facts is that we're getting all these ideas, and just know it might take us a year, it might take us 5 years, but know that we're taking that and we're actively working on it and just getting that information out to people. Because I think a lot of people, it's instant gratification. Everyone wants it. Not everybody can get it.
Like I've had Woodman's thrown at me too, and I'm like, yeah, and people want gates at both ends of town not happening. I can't see, but maybe in Rapids, okay, that would be great. I'd love a Woodman's too, but so
Don't
yeah.
think we're quite big enough for that.
No, I don't think so.
No. Okay, so we'll move that. And then, let's see, the last item, 17, discussion and, well, it's not quite last, but discussion and possible referral to future agenda. Review new business checklist and determine any possible updates or if any additional supporting documents should be created to help with land sales. So this is something that Lexi brought up, and she has created, and it's in your packet, well, no, it was on your desk, a modification of the checklist, should be there, of the checklist that we have. And the checklist that's currently is called an information sheet. It's near the back of your packet. You can see what a new business currently is being given if they come here and are interested in pursuing a new business here. And it's cumbersome, we've discussed, and also a lot of this information really is not needed until you get to the planning commission stage. So for CDA's purposes, it's when you come in, like Colleen was saying, you want to buy some property. I was talking to Lexi and asked her to kind of put together, what exactly do you need, does CDA need, if a person wants to come and buy a property, rather than providing all of that other information that they're going to have to, if they move forward, get approval at this level, then they would have to go forward with the planning commission and supply other information. So that's what she put together for us as a rough draft, we are assuming.
Yep.
And she spent a lot of time on this, she told me. So
Yes, I spent quite a bit of
appreciate
time.
her efforts on doing this. Maybe you can explain what you've done and why.
Yes, so this is 100% able to be changed, so anything that is a little bit, wonky, you want to have fixed, whatever, please feel free to tell me. I took quite a few of the main ideas I saw in here, and I just wanted to stretch them out and make it so it's actually usable, because my first thing I notice is when I look at this, as if I'm trying to buy land, or even if I'm someone who's trying to sell land, this doesn't give me any information that's useful. It doesn't tell me how I should be presenting information. It doesn't tell me as someone who's trying to buy land exactly, it doesn't give me anything it doesn't really lay out the type of information that I should be providing. So I tried to make it more straightforward. So I obviously have some of the more basic information like the applicant name, phone, mailing address. That's just what's on most of our forms. What I did include is some parcel information. So the parcel of interest, it would just be, that's just gonna be the parcel number. That one might not be as useful because all our parcels are these huge chunks. But this is what I did that is kind of unique, I thought, is the acres requested, and then I also added a minimum acres needed. So even though someone might request, 30 acres for something, but their project might only need 10 acres, that now will give you guys a bigger leeway of acreage to actually grant someone, because maybe you'll determine that you don't want to sell 30 acres, but you feel that you want to give someone maybe more than 10 acres, so you'll sell 20 or 15 or whatever number. And then on top of that, I added the sub-district, parcel use. Depending on subcommittee work, this might not be needed, but as of right now,
Okay.
as it stands, it does still is needed. I added price per acre because we don't have a suggested price per acre yet, so I want them to specify how much they're willing to put, as well as a total amount offered, just so they can have a breakdown. And also it helps us because if we're trying to give them less land than what they're offering, then we can give them a counter offer that would make sense. And it's easier for us to just obviously calculate. I then just kind of cut up everything to make it way clearer, like a business description. I made it just have them describe exactly what the business is. I also I want them to include if it's a permitted or conditional use, and then if it would require a rezone, because at this point that might be a situation. Obviously in the future that might not be the case anymore. The project area, so this is where they would include their images. So this is where they would have the picture of the parcel and they would draw out the little block of where on the parcel they'd want. And then they would also have their design renderings and any documents that they would have for their land sale. I also wanted them to include a schedule. I want them to come in with a timeline. I don't want them to come in just saying, I want to buy land, I want to put this here, I want this, I want this, I want this. And I don't want them to just not have any sort of plan. And then it comes time to actually do the land sale, and then they're not ready for anything. It comes time for plan commission, they're not ready for anything. And then they get the land, and a year passes, and they're not ready to dig into this dirt.
You're saying if we can hold back up there a minute, I think that's something to be considered, because in the past, when we've had land sold, people have been given anywhere from 18 to 24 to 36 months to complete, and and the extension's been approved by Plan Commission and the town board. So I mean, a proposed timeline is great, so they don't think they have like forever. Because,
I think the documents say 2 years right now. So.
yeah.
Yep.
They say 2 years.
Yep.
And maybe that's even too much. You want to see the first shovel hit the ground as soon as they can, kind of thing. If you've got a plan, granted, considerations and conversations have to take place.
Yep.
Depending on what the project did. I think a proposed timeline is a good is a good place to start. And this body should be more aware that maybe 2 years is kind of generous, unless there's special exceptions. And we can have that conversation that maybe it should only be 18 months, maybe it's 12 months that a shovel's got to hit the dirt, that sort of thing. Because if you're coming in with a plan and you've got all this other stuff, that helps us also avoid speculation. We're not just going to sell you 30 acres and you say you're going to put up housing, and yeah, you might be a good developer, but then again, you don't see anything for 2 years, that might be.
Yep. I also don't want to see land just sitting out there, perfectly good land, just sold, not being put to any use because someone bought it and it's their land. They can technically do that, but just valuable land.
And part of this, too, if a property sells, I'd like to see some language in the future moving forward that we have that, if they haven't CSM'd all the land together, we're able to purchase it back. If they own 2 lots, that we can purchase that one back. Or if you haven't developed the entire property, we'll purchase a portion of it back. Or we do have some of that now, that language is in there to protect us. So.
Another thing I made sure to add in there, specifically after a recent land sale, was adding a background section. I want any relevant background information on previous developments, businesses, or equivalent projects. Not everyone's going to be a business owner, I understand that. Not everyone's going to have a impressive portfolio, but people shouldn't be coming in wanting to build associations and condos who've never built associations and condos, or that's not feasible for us, that's not healthy for us to do. It's one thing if you're wanting to build your own business, it's another thing if you're trying to build condominiums.
Right.
So essentially, you're kind of wanting to see a business plan.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. And it kind of helps because then it is sort of helps blend the lines so that when they're done with CDA, they're more so going to be ready to jump into Plan Commission too.
So I would consider it, and I agree with Heather, it's more important actually as a project plan, or what term?
Business plan.
Business plan. Rather than saying supplementary information, I don't know if you have another place for it, but quite frankly, I think that would be a good place to put it. It's not really supplementary. I mean, you can say include supplementary, but you want a business plan. You want to, and there's resources with the 2 chambers that they can get help with developing those as well. They used to have business camps up at the How, where people would go in for 2 days and they would help them develop their business plan. So even if you want to maybe modify this and say, besides your relevant information, business / project plan, give us an idea of that. And again, you might not have all of that stuff because not everybody's been in business before, but it's even more so than just supplement. That's just.
Well, and if they go to the bank to get their loan for their business, they have to submit a business plan.
Exactly.
It should be submitted to you right there.
Exactly.
What if you change the word background to business plan?
Yep, I can do that.
Well, and I was gonna say, almost those 2 categories, like,
They
It's
overlap.
everything that is in a business plan, are those two things.
Oh, yeah, so there, yeah, change the
'cause-
background one and make that the business plan, and then just whatever you need there for their business plans, yeah.
And then supplementary information was kind of like my catch-all. I kind of threw everything else I could think of. So that's like,
No, that makes sense now,
yeah, 'cause that's like my any relevant information such as price breakdowns. The reason I put that in there would be like if someone had to build their own roads, we would consider selling their land at a cheaper price if they're putting in their own roads. That's expensive. So it makes sense for us to sell their land at a cheaper price per acre. Potential stakeholders. So if there's, they're trying to build more older people homes. We might consider doing some like stuff with, I don't know, giving them tax breaks or something like that. Alternative parcel locations. So if for some reason they want a really prime piece of land, but what they're trying to do isn't really fitting of a super prime piece of land, but it's still a good idea and it still would fit the Rometown Center, but just not in that location. And then just alternative design choices. So just if they have other ideas and they just, I don't know, whatever else they want. And then also fiscal plans, because I know that was something that got brought up actually earlier this meeting. That would just be like their financial plans of how their business is going to operate and how they plan on bringing in revenue and the revenue they think they're going to bring in.
Did you do that? I don't think you had that as part of your plan, did you?
It's a part of the business plan. We didn't have the business plan done when we bought the.
Correct.
The
I think we're
land,
getting,
but-
yeah.
I'm buzzing.
We had to.
So,
Expensive.
With your CDA? With
No,
the
with
CDA in
restaurant,
Madison?
yeah.
Right,
With the
so, like,
restaurant.
when
Yeah.
we got our loans.
Extensive business plan, and at the end of the year, we were $300 off.
so I think the whole purpose of this is
More
to
general.
allow people to come in with their ideas, their business, their offers, but not overly burden them and cause them huge expense
Right.
to come in and find out,
Right.
sorry.
That's the thing.
We want to know
But-
how to have their shit together.
But yeah,
That's the thing. It's a huge expense.
but I think a basic business plan is necessary, but you have to be careful when you start asking for, design, drawings, all of this, but we are asking for some of that renderings. Because you have to have some idea what it is they want to build, what it's going to look like, but they don't have to have it,
No, that's a planning commission thing.
Yeah.
right, planning commission then. So I think we just really need to separate what we need to sell the land, and
Yeah.
then if we sell it, planning commission has to take over and decide.
Would it be a smarter way is if you're saying they have a lot of land, they've purchased a 30-acre plot, and now they're only using 15? Can you break those plots into smaller plots and give them the right of first refusal?
We do have some rights of first refusal in some of the offers that we've done in the past.
Yeah, because I can see
we
what
did
she's
that
saying.
with-
There's land sitting there that they bought, and it's,
And I think people could say, oh, we've maybe been overcautious with not wanting people to just come in with nothing, and then we sell them this land and it sits there. But I think it's also wise, we can't grow any more land in the Rometown Center.
No.
That's ours, that's it. That's all we can have a say over. But the rest of the town, not that it's not as important, but we don't have as much say or control as to what happens. And here we're developing a community within the community.
Is it safe
So-
to say the subcommittee is looking at the size of those
Yes.
lots and
Yes, we are.
dividing them? Because, I mean, I look at an example, and I'm not picking on a business, but the meat market has their business on one corner, but they own that whole side.
that's
There's
not
no
right.
real reason for them to have that property if they do not plan to put anything there.
And that's where I think the business plan has to be vetted more too, because there were drawings on their site plan of operation, and not to pick on them because they've been picked on enough. But, the fact is they, on their original site plan, they showed other things happening out there.
Right.
But then again, too, it was like, yeah, that piece of property was going back to, well, set prices per acre. Well, I'm gonna take these for 3,000 each. I'm just using that as an example. I don't remember what they paid. Well, it was really easy just to unload that property and think it was gonna get on the tax rolls, but it sure wasn't smart planning when you think density and what else could we have had on the corner next to the meat market that they would have complemented each other. Like, I don't know.
Well, and I guess with that specific example, is it too late for the town to go back and offer them to divide
Probably
that.
could, but they
And-
probably want a lot of money for it now.
Yeah,
Well,
see,
but that,
yeah.
Well, we could certainly do that
but I
at
mean,
some
it's,
point.
you won't know until you ask.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think once we have our grander plan done, a grand, a updated plan done, that maybe, you know, even like Market on Main, you know, that property was combined before they purchased it. So then they bought the whole thing on the corner to go with it. But that was when a workshop was gonna go in there and they were gonna have tours there. Well, now that's another one we would have to try and buy back, but it's right on a great corner once we get that road done.
Yeah.
And that's great for them and that's fine, but what are they gonna do with it?
Yeah.
You know, so we could try and buy those things back, but we have to be smarter about the land we have left. So I like the business plans and that sort of thing, but that goes back to price per acre and how much do you want? We gotta be cautious.
And not to labor that idea, but if they did have a site plan of operation that did show and indicate they were going to do something with that piece of property and they never did. So
Yeah.
now they're in violation, or whatever the right word is, of what they said they're gonna do.
Right.
And is there any way to go back and say, you didn't do this? So you either have to do it, or we'll give you some options, what you can do about
Or
that.
give it back.
Yeah, is that language that you can better word in those future contracts? Is that this
So
is what you drew, this is what you were gonna do, you have this amount of time, 2 years or whatever to do that, and if you don't, we already have that language built in that says we get to purchase that unused property back
at the price.
at the price it was purchased for.
Exactly.
And
And
the
if going forward,
bison
yes,
trading-
absolutely,
Yeah.
that wouldn't be an issue, but it's kind of
When it's not there,
difficult
yeah.
now.
Can't go back.
Yeah,
but
'cause-
if someone is out of compliance with what they said they were going to do, then
It's tricky
what the
because
tool is for that.
it's tricky for plan commission, because if someone says they're gonna do something on their property, but they don't, that's not an issue, but if they say they're not gonna do something and they do, that's a
Right.
problem, so I can't, there's not really a code enforcement I can do if someone says they're gonna do something and they don't, so.
So what we
that's
have to do at the
thing.
plan commission level is be a little bit smarter, that when they come to us and they say, well, we have this much, but we have to do that here, because then we can't oversell the land. And in defensive bison trade, they had plans for it, that transaction happened so quickly. I mean, I'm not blaming it just happened, and we're using it as an example, so nobody take that the wrong way. And they choose to do a different business model elsewhere, and it all evolved very quickly. But that's just an example, and so there's really no way to go back and say, okay, we want the land back because you didn't do it according to your plan. We have to be smarter at each step and say, well, this is what you want to do, but that's where a planner comes in and tells you, like a SAM or a master plan, and says, yeah, we've built these kind of buildings before. We have architects on staff that say they don't need that much space for that. I may,
But as well, having more rigid, I guess, guidelines going forward and having higher standards going forward is also going to, I feel like, weed out that from happening, because you're not going to have people coming through who are, I guess you're going to have, because if you make it more rigorous of a process to go through, likely you're going to have more experienced people who are going to have these types of jobs under their belt. They're not
Right.
likely to say, oh yeah, we're going to build this, and then not, because that's going to hurt their reputation. So I feel like even though it's I feel like we're kind of at a weird fine line to walk, where I understand we don't want to make it too tricky, because we don't want them to have to spend a ton of money just to possibly buy land, but we also don't want them to just be able to waltz in and be like, I want land, let me get land, and that's it.
Well, a lot of these are things Nick could help us with also, because they could come through on counter offers.
Yep.
And we can ask for the minimum at the get-go and see what they've got, and that way if they want to come in and put something in right away, you're like, well, no, we don't allow tattoo parlors there, so you don't have to spend a lot of money you're just not going to buy it for that. But if you need more, you can always ask for more.
very similar to what we have with that mini resort with Amy Lorenz. She has an option to buy behind her. That doesn't make us hang on to it for her, but I mean, she has an option to buy and expand that way if her project succeeds and she puts in enough units that it shows that she needs more. So people
that's
can have
fine.
an option to buy more land if suddenly they realize what they wanted to do is successful. I just don't know what the tool or mechanism would be to, we can just go out there and say, would you be willing to sell this back? Because we have ideas and this is really gonna help your business.
Yeah.
And then we
For
For
have
the,
money.
for the current, or, you know, what's
Right.
already out there, yeah. Going forward, I
Yeah,
think it's
because
just
they're in
building that
violation.
language.
You never know if
They
a
haven't completed their project.
business,
I would just go in there
Needs money.
as and not say, hey, we want to buy our land back.
Oh,
because they're-
yeah, I know.
For
I
us,
know.
for example, you know,
They're gonna say
we're gonna
no.
put orchards, well, we have in our business plan, that's like phase whatever. That
Right.
wasn't an expectation upon opening, we were gonna have these orchards, you know what I mean? So,
And it takes a while to grow trees and hops, right?
yeah, so I mean,
So-
for us, that's,
but you'd probably be different in that regard because then you can answer the question.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, we are planning to do this and we're
Yeah.
planning to do it
It's very obvious to
2
tell.
a year,
too.
2 years from now.
Like-
Where that other business might say, well, no, I don't really have any plan for it. And you just never know if a business might want some money too, you know? People
Exactly.
do like,
That's
oh, I didn't even think about this. You mean I can,
Yeah.
all right.
Good point.
However much
Very
it
good
is,
point.
maybe with that 5 or whatever, I'm throwing out any old number, $5,000. Well, I can do maybe something with my current business with that. And I can.
That's a very good
And
point.
it might reduce their tax roll. I don't know if that's a factor or not, but they're gonna own less property, so they might save money there too, and maintaining that property, so there are some pluses.
Well, maybe this body should come up with a letter of sorts and work on that, or have, maybe we could have, maybe Nick's had exposure to that when he worked up at the city and they bought things from different businesses when the buildings were, I don't know, or maybe this group could have that as one of the things we wanna do is start drafting a letter that if there's existing businesses, not you of course, cause we know what you're doing with it, but if there's existing businesses that we could potentially get that land back, because then we gotta figure out, A, where we're gonna get the money from, and B, I mean, we could take some action on it, so maybe this body wants to start drafting some sort of a letter, or have Nick start drafting some sort of letter for us.
Okay.
We can talk to him about that. So, this is just a draft, and so then you're ready to go to the next box, ordinance requirements.
So this is just the basic ordinance for subdivision. I thought this was important to put in there because right now we're kind of in a weird situation with not having Timberland all the way through, or I think it's Vienna all the way through, where not all of the land within the Rumtown center is
sold.
we can't sell all of it even. You can't sell any of the land that's behind Amy Lorenz's parcel, and you can't sell any of the land that's by where the Snow Bandits is right now. So just for that sake, I made sure to add in the road frontage requirement, and also I added the area minimum, the depth width ratio, and then that if the offer does not meet the requirements, it can't be sold. However, the exception to this would be if an applicant proposes to build a private road that meets town ordinance standards, it would count towards the road frontage minimum.
Okay. We
How did you
can,
determine that? How did you determine that?
That's always been a thing. If they build their own road that meets town ordinance or like what we specify for town roads,
Yeah.
that would count towards road frontages if it would be maintained as a private road. It's very expensive for someone to do, but if they were to do that, we would count it as a road.
Okay.
then I would just add on to that, we talked about this earlier, your references, and like you have on the back of the original sheet, so if someone wants to read more about that, like Lori just said, what's that, why you have, you can put the references in
Where do you
there.
see references? I'm sorry, what am I
On
missing?
the
On
original
this one.
sheet that they had.
Oh,
They have them on the back, references to the town code. Just how to find that information, because maybe it'll avoid calls to you, like, well, where is that in the code? And then I'd add a box for more information, who you contact, and put your own information in there at the bottom or at the top, wherever you want to put it in.
I think if we, just one other comment, when we're talking about project area and then background, we changed it to business plan, if maybe those two, because project area, I think those two kind of overlap, do they not, or,
I
because
think
have-
project area is what it looks like in the design.
Yeah, project area would be like what part, like where like, it'd be like a map of the Rome Town Center, and you're drawing
Oh.
where you'd actually
Maybe that's
have
where
it.
I'm sorry. I
Wanna
forgot you said the
relabel
map.
that?
So maybe you say a project map.
Or project design?
Well, yeah, it'd be, we do project, I'll do project area and design or something
Yeah.
like that, because it'd be where you're putting it.
I know,
and
that
what
would
it's
make more
looking
sense to
like.
me, because we get those maps like that at Plan Commission. So here, if somebody wants to purchase something and they're gonna buy this parcel, where are you gonna plop your building in the middle of that That's all I'm thinking, because
Yeah.
when you say project area, I got confused, and.
Well, because
I
that
think
is important to this body, because you guys need to know, if they are buying this land, what size building are they putting it, and where are they putting it? 'Cause that's
Right.
more important to
I think
you
it'd
guys
be
than it is to
helpful-
Plan Commission even.
What does it look
Yeah.
like?
Setbacks, all that, yeah.
I think it would be helpful if you put project map and design. I
Okay,
think that would clear it up a little
Yeah,
bit more.
that's very
Yeah.
clear. That's very
I
clear.
can do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, that's a lot to, just kind of retool it and bring it back. We'll look at it again, and maybe at some point in time, it could actually go out onto a web page. I think that's your ultimate
Do
goal,
we
I
need to
would
take
think.
this to CDA or town board?
I think it would have technically have to go to town board
Yeah.
for approval
Yeah.
before it goes
Well,
on the
we'll get
website.
it. I mean,
Because
once
this
all the
form
approvals.
here, this form here, I'm sorry, Jack, but this form here was approved by this body and the Plan
Town.
Commission.
Okay.
So just so they understand, this isn't replacing that.
It would
This
just
is a
be
tool to be in addi-
supplementary with
So we
it.
would just send it up to town board then.
Yeah.
Overall, great job, though. You really
Yes,
thought of some great
yes.
points on there. It shows your time into it shows.
Yeah.
And that you have a lot of initiative to address all these things to make things run smoother for you and everybody else, so.
Yeah.
I get quite a few questions. Like, you guys would be surprised how many people are actually interested in land sales in the Rome Town Center.
Oh, yeah.
The minute they heard we were gonna put that road in, yeah, it really increased.
Even without the guy
Even-
that I'm selling new construction for, that asks me constantly, I will put in a road. Can I build back there? And I'm like, you gotta just hold on, buddy.
Technically,
Technically,
So we've got our next agenda items. Anything we want to add that wasn't discussed, say it now or call Lexi or me with it, and we'll see if it can be approved for the next agenda. And the next meeting date and time is December 12th.
5th, sorry.
Oh, 5th, all right.
okay.
I don't know why I put 12th on that one. Mine says
I
5th,
can't
but I know
believe
it says 12th on that one.
So I will not be here. I was going to be here December 12th, but I will not be here December 5th, so someone will have to step in as chair on December 5th. Any volunteers?
I mean, I can pretend I know what I'm doing.
All right, so Lori will chair the meeting on December 5th. Thank you.
You're welcome. Have fun wherever you're going again.
Yeah, again.
I didn't get a vacation yet this year, darn, I'm hanging out.
Well, if it was the 12th, I wouldn't have been able to make it. 'cause
Christmas
we're going
market
to
cruise
Iceland.
on the Danube River. That's where I'm going.
You're going on a third trip so far?
Oh, yes. I go to Tennessee on the 6th.
I make no apologies for my travel. I love traveling.
No,
Okay.
I don't
too.
make any,
So-
I wouldn't make any either,
No.
but
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn?
Okay, second? Okay, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Colleen, get your leg up.
oh my God, that's gotta be, yeah. Sitting home and put that up. Didn't even think about you sitting there in pain. You were wincing a couple of times, so.
I just keep moving a little bit.
How long ago was your surgery?
4 weeks.
Really?
Yep. It's gonna take up to a year. I said, forget that business.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously?
Well, I had to hold this.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, you know, restaurant, I wore out my parts.
Thank you. Take care of yourself.
Thanks.
Go
Night,
straight home now,
everyone.
not to the tavern. That's where I would go if I was hurting like that.
Well, depends on the meds you're on.
That wouldn't stop me.